20. Black child actors from the early 2000s you'd never recognize today. They made us laugh, cry, and grow up with them, but then they vanished. In the early 2000s, black child actors were everywhere, carrying hit shows, blockbuster films, and cultural moments that defined a generation. Today, many of those once familiar faces are almost unrecognizable, not because of scandal, but because they chose something Hollywood rarely allows: a life beyond fame. What really happens after the applause fades and the cameras stop rolling? Stay with Legends of Black Excellence as we uncover the untold journeys behind these childhood stars and ask the question Hollywood never once answered. Jascha Washington. Jascha Washington became a familiar face to American audiences at the start of the 2000s, when he appeared as Trent Pierce in Big Mama's House 2000 and later Big Mama's House 2 2006. Together, the two films earned more than $300 million worldwide, placing Washington in front of millions of viewers at a very young age. He also appeared on popular television series such as The Parkers, proving he could transition easily between film and sitcom comedy. At a time when black child actors were in high demand, his confidence and screen presence suggested a long career ahead. However, as adolescence approached, Washington began to pull away from Hollywood. Rather than aggressively pursuing new roles, he chose a quieter direction, avoiding the intense pressure and public scrutiny that often followed former child stars. If success came to you that early, would you feel obligated to stay in the spotlight? His decision reflected a desire for balance rather than constant visibility. Today, Jascha Washington lives largely outside the entertainment industry and maintains a low public profile. While many fans still remember him vividly, his story illustrates that stepping away can also be a form of success. For some child actors, growing up unseen is the healthiest choice of all. Shavar Ross. Shavar Ross began his acting career at just 9 years old and quickly became a recognizable face on American television. He rose to national attention as Dudley Johnson, Arnold Jackson's best friend on Diff'rent Strokes, a role that placed him in front of over 20 million weekly viewers during the show's peak years. His early success continued with appearances in Family Matters, The Jeffersons, and the film Friday the 13th: A New Beginning. By adulthood, Ross had accumulated more than 100 film and television credits, an achievement few child actors ever reach. Despite this momentum, Ross chose not to remain locked into Hollywood's spotlight. As the industry shifted and opportunities changed, he redirected his life toward faith education and purpose-driven work. Ross attended Bible school and later became a pastor at a live church in Los Angeles, where he served his community for several years. In addition to ministry, he founded Tri7 Entertainment, a company focused on inspirational and family-centered content. Today, Shavar Ross is remembered not only for his childhood performances, but for proving that reinvention can be intentional, dignified, and deeply fulfilling beyond the camera. DJ Daniels. DJ Daniels became a recognizable television face before most children understood fame. He gained national attention as Michael Hughley on The Hughleys 1998-2002, a sitcom that regularly attracted 12 million viewers per episode during its early seasons. His performance as the quick-witted son of comedian D.L. Hughley made him a standout among early 2000s black child actors. Daniels also appeared on shows such as In the House and Grace Under Fire, and later took on a role in the superhero film Sky High 2005, showing versatility beyond sitcom comedy. However, as Daniels transitioned out of childhood, steady acting opportunities became harder to secure. Like many former child stars, he faced the difficult shift from being typecast as a kid to finding footing as an adult performer. When your identity is shaped by fame at such a young age, who are you when the roles stop coming? In the early 2010s, his life briefly entered public controversy, but court records ultimately cleared him of wrongdoing. After stepping away from acting, Daniels redirected his energy toward music, performing under the name Boy Truth and releasing original material online. Today, his journey reflects the often overlooked reality of child stardom. Early visibility does not guarantee lifelong security, and reinvention is sometimes a necessity rather than a choice. Dee Dee Davis. Dee Dee Davis became a household name in the early 2000s after portraying Brianna Baby Girl Tompkins on The Bernie Mac Show, a sitcom that consistently ranked among the top-rated comedy series on Fox, drawing 8 to 12 million viewers per episode at its peak. Born in 1996, Davis began acting at just 5 years old, and her sharp delivery and emotional range quickly set her apart. In 2004, she won a Young Artist Award, confirming her status as one of the most promising black child actresses of her generation. She also made guest appearances on shows such as House and Strong Medicine, expanding her resume beyond comedy. As her career gained momentum, Davis made a decision uncommon for young stars. Instead of aggressively pursuing Hollywood longevity, she stepped away from acting around 2007 to focus on education and personal development. Her choice contrasted sharply with the industry's expectation that child actors should constantly remain visible. Davis later attended Rich Central High School and Prairie State College, choosing a life outside public attention. Today, she is no longer active in entertainment, but her performance on The Bernie Mac Show remains widely remembered. Her story reflects a powerful alternative narrative. Sometimes the greatest success is knowing when to leave the spotlight on your own terms. Kamani Griffin. Kamani Griffin began acting before most children could read, quickly establishing himself as a reliable young performer in both film and television. He gained major recognition playing Ben Hinton in Daddy Daycare 2003, a family comedy that earned over $160 million worldwide, placing him opposite established stars like Eddie Murphy. Shortly after, Griffin became a familiar face on television as Bobby James on All of Us 2003 to 2007, where his natural charm and comedic timing helped anchor the show across multiple seasons. He also appeared in high-profile series including ER Grey's Anatomy and My Name is Earl, demonstrating unusual range for a child actor. Beyond on-screen roles, Griffin expanded into voice acting, contributing to animated projects such as Rise of the Guardians and Ni Hao Kai Lan, further solidifying his versatility. When success comes so early and so fast, how do you decide what kind of adulthood you want to build? As he reached his late teens, Griffin made a conscious decision to step away from full-time acting, prioritizing education and personal interests over constant industry exposure. Today, Kamani Griffin lives a largely private life, occasionally returning for selective voice work. His journey reflects a thoughtful approach to early fame, proving that stepping back does not erase achievement, it can protect it. Noah Gray Cabey. Noah Gray Cabey emerged in the early 2000s as one of television's most memorable young talents, captivating audiences as Franklin Mumford on My Wife and Kids, 2002 to 2005. His portrayal of a child prodigy blended intelligence with humor, helping the sitcom attract more than 10 million viewers per episode during its strongest seasons. Soon after, Gray Cabey expanded his reach with a prominent role as Micah Sanders on NBC's Heroes, 2006-2010, a global hit watched by audiences in over 70 countries. Off-screen, he was equally remarkable, recognized as a musical prodigy who performed classical piano concerts before his teenage years. Despite this rare combination of fame and talent, Gray Cabey made a deliberate decision to step away from acting while still in demand. Rather than remaining tied to Hollywood's expectations, he chose to focus on education and personal development, redefining success on his own terms. If you reached the peak so young, would you keep climbing or pause to discover who you are without applause? His choice challenged the industry's assumption that visibility must always be maintained. Today, Noah Gray Cabey lives largely outside the spotlight, remembered fondly for roles that left a lasting impression. His story reflects a quieter form of maturity, showing that stepping back can be an act of strength rather than retreat. Brandon Quintin Adams. Brandon Quintin Adams became one of the most recognizable black child actors of the 1990s, with a filmography that many adults never achieve. He appeared in Moonwalker 1988, alongside Michael Jackson, delivered a chilling performance in The People Under the Stairs, 1991, and won the hearts of family audiences as Jesse Hall in The Mighty Ducks, 1992. He later appeared in The Sandlot, 1993, cementing his place in a generation of iconic coming-of-age films that collectively grossed hundreds of millions of dollars worldwide. Addams was widely praised for his emotional range, moving seamlessly between drama comedy and fantasy. As he entered adulthood, opportunities became less frequent, a common reality for former child stars transitioning in a changing industry. In 2002, Addams experienced a devastating personal loss when his close friend and fellow actor Merlin Santana was murdered, an event that deeply affected him. Rather than forcing a comeback, Addams chose to step back and reassess his path. In later years, he returned selectively through voice acting, including work on Kingdom Hearts 2 and narration projects. Today, Brandon Quintin Addams is remembered not only for his early success, but for surviving Hollywood without letting it consume his identity. Arthur Reggie III. Arthur Reggie III rose to prominence in the mid-1990s as Alfred Alfie Parker on Nickelodeon's My Brother and Me, a series that became a cult favorite among young viewers and families. Airing from 1994 to 1995, the show helped establish Nickelodeon's push for diverse, youth-centered storytelling, and Reggie's performance played a key role in its appeal. His natural delivery and expressive timing made Alfie instantly relatable, especially for audiences seeing a black child lead with humor and heart. Beyond Nickelodeon, Reggie appeared on popular sitcoms such as Martin Hangin' with Mr. Cooper and Sliders, and he voiced Jamal in the animated series Sebastian and Jamal, demonstrating versatility across formats. Despite this momentum, Reggie chose not to pursue a prolonged Hollywood career. As the 1990s closed, he stepped away from acting to prioritize education and a more private life. If your childhood success was already complete, would you feel the need to prove anything more? His decision stood in contrast to an industry that often pressures young performers to remain visible at all costs. Today, Arthur Reggie III lives largely outside the public eye, occasionally sharing reflections on his acting years with longtime fans. His story underscores a quieter truth: sometimes the most confident move is knowing when your chapter on screen has already said enough. Ross Bagley. Ross Bagley became instantly recognizable in the mid-1990s as Nikki Banks on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, joining the series during its later seasons when it was still drawing over 15 million viewers per episode. Before that, he had already captured attention as Buckwheat in The Little Rascals, 1994, a family hit that grossed more than $67 million worldwide. In 1996, Bagley appeared opposite Will Smith in Independence Day, one of the highest-grossing films of all time, earning over $800 million globally. By the age of 10, he had been part of 3 major pop culture staples. Yet, unlike many child stars, Bagley did not attempt to ride nostalgia into adulthood. As he grew older, he gradually stepped away from acting, choosing education over auditions. He later enrolled at California State University, Northridge, studying cinema and television arts, gaining a behind-the-scenes understanding of the industry he once fronted. Today, Ross Bagley has built a life far removed from Hollywood's glare. He works in real estate and remains active as a DJ in Los Angeles, occasionally connecting with fans online. His journey illustrates that walking away from fame isn't failure. It can be a conscious decision to redefine success on entirely personal terms. Ashley Amari Adams. Ashley Amari Adams became a familiar face to television audiences in the mid-1990s after landing the role of Cece Peterson on the sitcom The Parent 'Hood. She began acting at just 4 years old, and her lively expressions and natural confidence quickly made Cece one of the show's most memorable child characters. The Parent 'Hood ran for 5 seasons and regularly reached millions of households each week, giving Adams early exposure that many young performers never experience. Her performance was often praised for bringing warmth and authenticity to family-centered storylines, helping ground the series emotionally. After the show ended in 1999, Addams appeared in a few additional projects, including voice work in Baby Geniuses and a guest appearance on Girlfriends in 2008. Still, unlike many former child stars, she did not pursue an aggressive comeback strategy. When childhood fame fades, naturally, is it better to chase it or let it stay where it belongs? Addams chose the latter, stepping away from Hollywood to focus on her personal life rather than public recognition. Today, Ashley Amari Addams lives outside the entertainment industry and is known to be a devoted mother. Though her time on screen was brief, her role on The Parent, Hood remains a nostalgic touchstone for viewers who remember when she helped define a golden era of Black family sitcoms. Brandon Hammond. Brandon Hammond was one of the most emotionally compelling Black child actors of the 1990s, leaving a lasting impression well into the early 2000s. He gained widespread recognition for his role as Ahmad in Soul Food 1997, a critically acclaimed film that earned over $43 million at the U.S. box office and became a cornerstone of modern Black cinema. Hammond's performance as a grieving yet determined young boy earned him an NAACP Image Award nomination, an uncommon achievement for a child actor. He also appeared in major films such as Waiting to Exhale Space Jam and Mars Attacks, sharing the screen with some of Hollywood's biggest names. Despite this strong foundation, Hammond chose not to remain in front of the camera as he grew older. As opportunities shifted, he stepped away from acting to focus on education and creative development. Rather than disappearing entirely, Hammond transitioned into storytelling from a different angle. In adulthood, he became a filmmaker, writer, and educator, directing short films and teaching media arts. He also worked on a documentary celebrating the legacy of soul food. Brandon Hammond's journey illustrates that longevity doesn't always mean staying visible. It can mean evolving with intention and purpose beyond the spotlight. Zelda Harris. Zelda Harris entered the public eye at an unusually young age and left a lasting mark on American cinema before reaching her teens. She gained critical attention portraying Troy Carmichael in Spike Lee's Crooklyn 1994, a semi-autobiographical film that captured Black family life in 1970s Brooklyn with rare emotional honesty. Harris's performance stood out for its maturity, helping the film earn widespread acclaim and a strong cultural legacy. She later appeared in The Babysitters Club 1995 and He Got Game 1998, where she played Mary Shuttlesworth, further proving her ability to handle complex, grounded roles. As her career gained momentum, Harris made a choice few child actors dare to make. Instead of chasing continued fame, she shifted her focus toward education and personal development. If you were already respected as a child, would you still feel the need to prove yourself as an adult? Her decision reflected a long-term perspective rarely encouraged in Hollywood. Harris went on to graduate from Princeton University in 2007, an achievement that underscored her commitment to life beyond acting. In adulthood, she pursued work in education and music performing with her band and mentoring young people. Today, Zelda Harris is remembered not only for her early roles, but for redefining success on her own terms, quietly, deliberately, and without regret. Kiami Davael. Kiami Davael became instantly recognizable in the mid-1990s after playing Lavender, the sharp-witted classmate in Matilda, 1996. A family classic that has remained popular for decades through home video and television syndication. Her confident delivery and expressive presence made her stand out even in a cast filled with strong personalities. Following that breakout role, Davael appeared on well-known television series including Moesha, The Steve Harvey Show, and The Pretender, establishing herself as a dependable young performer during the transition into the early 2000s. As adolescence approached, however, Davael chose a path that differed from the typical child star trajectory. Rather than chasing constant visibility, she gradually stepped away from on-camera acting to prioritize education and creative control. Her decision reflected an awareness of how demanding and limiting the industry could be for young actors. Davael later graduated from the University of Kentucky with a degree in psychology, combining academic focus with artistic interests. She went on to work in theater as a director and producer, taught acting to young performers, and wrote her own screenplay. Today, Kiami Davael is rarely recognized in public, yet her influence continues quietly behind the scenes, proving that lasting impact does not always require staying in front of the camera. Raven McKelly. Raven McKelly built a powerful reputation as a child actress in the 1990s, earning respect for performances that carried emotional weight far beyond her age. She gained early recognition appearing in What's Love Got to Do with It 1993, portraying one of Tina Turner's children, and later delivered a memorable performance in A Time to Kill 1996, a courtroom drama that grossed over $150 million worldwide and addressed complex themes of race and justice. McKelly's ability to convey fear, resilience, and innocence made her stand out in films that demanded seriousness rather than charm. Throughout the late 1990s and early 2000s, she continued working steadily, becoming known for roles that required restraint and depth instead of typical child star comedy. Yet as she approached adulthood, McKelly gradually stepped away from acting, choosing not to pursue high-profile roles or public reinvention. If your early career placed you inside stories that heavy, would you want to keep reliving them? Her decision reflected a desire for privacy and emotional distance from an industry that rarely allows young performers to reset. Today, Raven McKelly lives largely outside the public eye with little social media presence or public appearances. While many viewers may no longer recognize her, her performances remain etched into some of the most impactful films of their era. Her story reminds us that sometimes the bravest choice is knowing when to step away. Emmanuel Lewis. Emmanuel Lewis became one of the most recognizable child stars in American television history, after starring as the title character in Webster 1983-1989. Although the series began in the 1980s, its heavy syndication throughout the 1990s and early 2000s kept Lewis firmly in the public eye for a new generation of viewers. At its peak, Webster attracted over 12 million viewers per episode, and Lewis earned multiple award nominations for his performance, praised for combining innocence with sharp comedic timing. His small stature and expressive delivery made him instantly memorable across decades. Beyond television, Lewis appeared in commercials, guest roles, and even pursued music internationally, releasing the single City Connection in Japan, where it achieved notable popularity. Yet as adulthood approached, Lewis resisted the pressure to remain a novelty act. Instead of clinging to fame, he redirected his focus toward education and personal discipline. Lewis graduated from Clark Atlanta University with a degree in theater arts, and later dedicated himself to martial arts, earning a black belt in karate. He also founded his own production company, exploring creative work on his own terms. Today, Emmanuel Lewis lives largely outside the spotlight, remembered not just for lasting fame, but for choosing independence over perpetual recognition. Dionne Richmond. Dionne Richmond entered American pop culture at a young age through his role as Kenny, known as Bud, on The Cosby Show, a series that dominated television throughout the late 1980s and early 1990s. At its height, the show averaged over 25 million viewers per episode, giving Richmond instant national recognition. His character's humor and warmth made him a fan favorite, and in 1989, he received a Young Artist Award affirming his impact as a child performer. As he matured, Richmond successfully avoided being locked into a single image, taking on roles in Sister Sister Scream 3 and Not Another Teen Movie, proving his adaptability across genres. Despite steady work, Richmond did not pursue constant visibility as he transitioned into adulthood. Instead, he gradually reduced his on-screen presence, a move that contrasted with Hollywood's expectation that former child stars must continuously reintroduce themselves. When your childhood role becomes iconic, is it easier to move forward or harder to escape it? Richmond chose reflection over reinvention for attention's sake. In later years, he shifted toward behind-the-scenes work, contributing as a producer and director on various projects. Today, Deon Richmond remains largely out of the spotlight, yet his early performances continue to resonate. His story reflects a measured approach to fame, one where longevity is defined not by constant recognition, but by thoughtful evolution. Brandon McKenzie. Brandon McKenzie was one of the most unusual child actors of his generation, not because of mainstream fame, but because of the circles his work reached. Showing an extraordinary memory and emotional awareness at an early age, he began acting before kindergarten and quickly stood out in independent cinema. By the age of 10, McKenzie had appeared in Me and You and Everyone We Know. 2005, and Breathe In later released as Breathe In, though filmed earlier, making him the youngest actor at the time to appear in 2 films screened at the Cannes Film Festival, a rare distinction for any performer, let alone a child. Unlike sitcom-driven stardom, McKenzie's performances were subtle, introspective, and often unsettling, earning praise from critics rather than tabloid attention. His work suggested a long future in serious film acting. As he grew older, however, McKenzie quietly stepped away from acting, choosing not to pursue Hollywood visibility or public reinvention. Today, very little is known about his adult life by design. He has maintained privacy in an era where former child actors are often pressured to explain their absence. Brandon McKenzie's story reminds us that recognition does not always demand longevity, and that sometimes the most powerful exit is the one made without announcement before the industry decides who you're supposed to become. Jamie Foxworth. Jamie Foxworth became a recognizable face in American households as Judy Winslow, the youngest daughter on Family Matters, a sitcom that regularly attracted over 15 million viewers per episode during its peak years. Joining the series as a child, Foxworth brought warmth and humor to the Winslow family dynamic. However, after the show's 4th season, her character was abruptly written out, a decision later attributed to budget shifts and changing creative focus. For a young performer, the sudden loss of visibility marked a turning point that few audiences understood at the time. As Foxworth entered her teenage years, steady acting opportunities became scarce. Like many former child stars, she faced the emotional strain of early fame followed by professional silence. She later spoke openly about struggling with depression and substance use, offering rare insight into the hidden costs of growing up in front of millions. In the mid-2000s, Foxworth stepped away from mainstream entertainment and focused on personal recovery and family life. She eventually returned to the public eye through interviews and documentary-style television, sharing her story as a cautionary example rather than a comeback narrative. Today, Jamie Foxworth is remembered not only for her childhood role, but for her honesty in confronting the long-term impact of early fame and learning to redefine success beyond television. For decades, Black child actors helped define American television and film, carrying stories that shaped culture, comedy, and family identity. Yet as these young stars grew older, many chose paths far from Hollywood education, privacy, faith, or entirely new careers. Their journeys raise an uncomfortable question about an industry that celebrates youth but rarely protects it. Were these actors forgotten, or did they quietly escape a system that never planned for their adulthood? At Legends of Black Excellence, we honor not just fame, but choice. The real debate is this: did Hollywood fail these children, or did they succeed by walking away before it failed them?